I know. The stream's live. Hello. Hi.
Hi everyone. I'm so happy to introduce Dorothy Koomson. Very excited for this chat. Um, do you want to introduce yourself and your books to everybody?
Oh my goodness, that's a bit of an ask, isn't it, for me? I don't know. I'm sat here getting slowly melting because it's so hot. Hello, I'm Dorothy Koomson. I'm an author. I've written 23 books to date. I have literally finished book 23, or was it book 23? Yeah, book 23. And my latest one that's on sale is Beach Hut 512, which is a short story. It's 22,000 words, and it's a story about a woman called Sims who has a beach hut down on the Brighton seafront. And at the start of the book, she is on a really terrible date. And then the group chat starts because beach huts are being vandalized. And when she finds a message saying that it's her beach hut that's being vandalized. This isn't a spoiler, by the way. So she gets to the beach, to the seafront, and discovers that not only has her beach hut been vandalized, the police have discovered a dead body that's been in there for 3 or 4 months. And it's been in there for a month or two, but she hasn't been to her beach hut for like 4 or 5 months because the locks rusted and she hasn't sorted them out. So it's a mystery about who is in the beach hut and also what how they got in there and how the killer got out.
Which is, I mean, it's great. I read that, and what's the other one I read? Is it My Other Husband?
My Other Husband, yes.
Yeah, in preparation for the chat, because I was like, I've got time. I can read more than one. Because it's just a short story, but it's really good. Sims is a great character.
Yeah, I loved creating her because she's very different from my other characters. She doesn't work in the media. She's actually a professor of science, and that is how she meets the person who, because she's got a bit of a history, and something awful happened to her a long time before, and so now she's wondering if this person who has put a dead body in the beach hut is basically that person coming back for her.
Yeah, and you've got her being like, he's kind of a bit angry, isn't he?
Yes, he felt really like he felt that she and other women had sort of like done him down, had humiliated him, so he decided to sort of go after them. And I'm trying not to give too many spoilers because it's only a short story.
I know, it's a hard one to talk about, isn't it?
Yeah, do that.
So what I liked about the other one that I read is your link to Leeds.
Yes, I used to live in Leeds. Yes, so all my books have a sort of a mention of Leeds in some way, or some way or shape or form. Yes, is that where you live?
It is where I live, and I
Oh,
think very much like you, I moved here to study, met a husband.
yes. I only met one husband when I was in Leeds, though. I didn't meet more than one.
Yeah, no, I've still got the same one as well. I just chose to stay in Yorkshire.
Yes. Whereabouts in Leeds do you live? Excuse me, I'm so hot.
Ah, I live in Armley.
Armley, oh yeah, near the jail.
Yeah. That tells you everything. But I used to work up near. I work actually not that far from Horsforth.
Oh, okay.
You went to uni, isn't it?
Yeah, that's where I went to college. Yes, and I used to live there. I lived there for a bit as well. Yeah, I went there a few years back. It's a great place to be, actually.
It is, yeah. I heartily recommend it.
Yes, absolutely. So do I. That's why I always mention my books in. I would also always mention Leeds. There's always some sort of connection to Leeds in all of my books, actually.
I think that one you said is the closest because I think you actually based it at
Yeah, in a college
Lovely.
not far from
Yeah.
Trinity. Yes. But most of my books, they have a sort of, like I say, a connection to Leeds. It's the first three were actually set in Leeds. Not the first, yeah, the first three. So the Cupid Effect, the Chocolate Run, and what's it called, My Best Friend's Girl. They're all actually set in Leeds, and then the fourth one wasn't set in Leeds, but it was partly set in Leeds. So I have a very strong Leeds connection in my books. Yes.
Lovely. With a mixed, I mean, this one, the one I read had the best of both worlds because it's also in Brighton.
Yes, Brighton and Leeds, my two places, my two favourite places. Although I do mention like Oxford and Birmingham, because I like those places as well. I mean, I like most of the UK. Most of the UK is actually quite a nice place to live, so I feel very, very lucky actually.
What so going back to Sims, she's a woman in science, who, you know, you've got some of the issues with being that sort of described in there. What kind of research did you have to do for someone who was that?
Well, I am married to a scientist, so he gives me all the inside knowledge about all the science stuff that's in it, and there isn't lots of science stuff. There's just bits of science stuff. So he sort of gave me all that knowledge, so it was authentic. But the other stuff, I mean, most women, when you've worked in a place, you will have experienced working with somebody who is very angry, men who are very angry with, I'm not saying all men, I'm just saying you would have experienced it, a man who kind of puts down your achievements, who doesn't think you deserve to be there, or deserve to get as much money or accolades as him. And that was what I tapped into, really, that sort of like this pervasive anger that some men carry with them, that women are somehow out to get them or out to make them look stupid. And that is what his Ronald's big fear is. And so that's why he does what he does.
We're definitely going on a vibe. I married a scientist as well.
That's really funny, isn't it? That's really funny. Is your husband from Liverpool by any chance?
No, he's from Hull.
Oh yeah, see, mine's from Liverpool, but that's really funny, isn't it?
Probably less out there for me. I'm going to guess you studied something to do with art or English or maybe?
No, I didn't.
No?
I studied psychology and media.
Oh, there you go. So you did have a
Yes.
sciencey vibe. I was going to say,
Yes.
'cause I did a science degree, so it does make sense that
Yeah. Yes.
I'm a scientist.
Yes. Well, I didn't meet him. He didn't actually go to college in Leeds. I actually met him in Leeds through a friend, and we didn't get together until years later, a long time later, actually. But I met him in Leeds, and he always says I don't remember the first time I met him. I do. I just pretend I don't.
Does the psychology background must super help with the books? Because all of your books I've read have got a real sort of quest into why people sort of do the things they do.
Yes, that's why I started studying psychology, because I was always fascinated by the things that people do and why they do them. And so I studied psychology to sort of like to find out about it, really, to understand how people will say one thing, do another thing, but they'll be thinking something completely different to that. It's very, that's always fascinating to me. I've always found it really fascinating how people, well, how people's minds work and the things that they say and do and why they do the things they do and why they don't do the things things they say they're going to do, or they explain how they feel about something and then act in a way that is completely contrary to what they've said that they feel about a situation. So yeah, I love psychology. I love finding out. I still read sort of like journals and stuff to find out information, because I'm always fascinated by the human mind and the fact that as time goes on, we find out more about how the human mind works and the things we do and why we do the things we do.
I think that's one of the most interesting things about psychology, probably to study, is we don't really know that much about how the brain works.
No, we don't. I mean, still, it's like it's vast, untapped sort of land that we still trying to map out, and we're still trying to navigate. And even when we have, even when we find out things, there are still different things that surprise us or will come up and completely throw what we know out the water completely. So yeah, I mean, it's an ongoing thing, I think, with the human mind, physically as well as everything else that, the mind bit, the non-physical, the metaphysical stuff.
Which is probably the most interesting bit.
Yeah, I don't, although I think we shouldn't discount what the physical thing has on the effect it has on the emotions, because they say about the frontal lobe isn't fully developed until you're in your 20s, which is why young people are reckless and they make poor decisions and they don't have any sense of danger. But I don't know if that's everybody. That's just some people, because some people I sort of think that never leaves them, and some people they never have that sort of like that sense of danger or their sense of recklessness. So I think all parts of the brain and the mind, I think they're inextricably linked, but also just fascinating to discover how they affect each other.
We've got some comments rolling in.
Okay.
Angela has said she's been a fan of yours for years.
That's nice of her. Thank you.
She loves your books. Her favourite has to be the Ice Cream Girls.
Ice Cream Girls. We like the Ice Cream Girls. And the sequel, which I wrote a sequel, and I did swear I wasn't going to write another sequel after I did that, but now I've written 2 sequels.
I've got the sequel. I haven't read it yet, but I do own the sequel because I read the Ice Cream Girls. I think that was the first book of yours I ever read.
Oh, okay, that's a long time ago. Gosh.
But yeah, and then I bought the sequel, but I haven't read it yet. Yes. I will. It's on my list, but I have a very big to be read pile.
Yeah, most people do, don't they? People who love books, you always have a big to be read pile, don't you?
Yeah, I think it's part of the thing, isn't it? Because like book collecting is a separate hobby.
Yes, absolutely. Book collecting and book reading are 2 very separate things.
And Sarah said hello. She wants to know if you've ever acted out a scene from your books.
It depends what she means by that, because I did when I wrote the Brighton Mermaid, there's a scene where she is put on the back seat of a people carrier. So I kind of asked my friend who has a people carrier to, if she wouldn't mind if I lay on the floor and she would drive me around so I could understand what it was like to be driven around on the floor of a people carrier, if that's what she means. If that's what you mean.
Pretty good, actually. Yeah, that's a good answer.
Yeah. So yeah, I have. Only the name of research. I haven't actually done anything like that. Not for research.
Is that the wildest thing you've done for research, being driven around on the floor of a people carrier, or have you gone further than that?
I think that's about it, yeah. Yeah, I think that's it.
Did you go into the beach world when you were writing
Beach Hut 512? Yeah, I mean, I've got access to a beach hut, as I always say. But on Facebook, there's a couple of groups who are nothing like the people in my book, I hasten to add.
I was going to ask that if you were inspired by a real life.
No. The people on the beach hut group chat, the Facebook group, are lovely. They all come across as lovely. Now, the group chat sort of scenario comes from all the group chats we're in. And again, everybody who I'm in a group chat with, they're all lovely. I've just heard things about people and how fraught they can become, and how some people sort of take over and other people can be really passive aggressive. So I thought I'd bring that sort of dynamic into it. But again, I want to make it clear that everybody I'm in a group chat with, they're wonderful people. I love them all.
Do you, I'm trying to think of the way to ask this without giving away anything in the story. Do you ever weave in real kind of myths or stories about like Brighton and Leeds?
I do actually. I do. Well, part of the research is to find something that that sort of makes the story authentic or makes the story real. So when I'm researching a story, I will talk to people who've been in that situation, or I'll read the stories of people who've been in that situation. For Beach Hut 512, there are a couple of things that actually are accurate, actually real, which I base the story on. I'll explain to you afterwards what I mean, but there's a couple of things that are thought to be legends, but they're actually true. So yeah, I like to weave in those things because they make it easier to tell a story, I think. Because once you've got something that's there, you can build a story around it rather than trying, or you can invent something. I mean, that's what I'm there to do. I'm there to make things up, but I like to find a little kernel of truth. I know with Beach Hut 512, as with a lot of my later books, I was talking to Graham Bartlett. You know, he's a member of the UK Crime Book Club, and he see, I'll have something that'll happen, and Graham will read the story and go, "Well, that can't happen in real life." And I'll go, Graham, this is your time to find me a way to make it happen. So he will. He'll get me to change it in a way so that it's still, my plot still works, but it's true to life. He's very good at that actually. So if you ever need police advice, crime writing advice from somebody, ask Graham. He's very good at doing that for me.
Yeah, there's some comments about Graham on the stream. Angela also said she loved Beach at 512. She read it as it was an Amazon first read for June.
Yeah.
But one character drove her insane. She just wanted to shake her and go be nice. I think we probably all know who that is.
We all know who that is, yes. Yeah. We all know who that was. Yes, that's funny. She was great to write. I like writing people like that because they're so out there. They're so not like me, I should say, because I'm lovely and my characters are not sometimes. But I really enjoy writing characters like that. It's so much fun.
Do you because I was thinking in the other one I read you had like someone writing it for a TV show of like a crime.
Oh yeah, by the husband. Yes, she was, yeah.
Which was like a lot of fun. I liked the whole like things about them writing the cozy crime and then just, you know, like the whole behind the scenes of the TV studio.
Yeah.
Is that something you'd had an experience with that inspired that, or is that just?
Oh no, I wasn't involved in the televising of the Ice Cream Girls, so I don't know anything about that. I just talked to a couple of people who help who do work in that world, who helped me out and told me how it works and how much people get involved and how much they don't get involved. But yeah, I enjoyed that. But I also enjoyed My Other Husband was kind of based on the idea of somebody like me who writes crime, and then suddenly someone starts killing off people in the way that that you write about. So I was imagining what if somebody was trying to stitch me up by killing off people in the way that I kill off people in my books? What would I do? And then I sort of thought, well, obviously you go to the police, but there has to be a reason why the main character wouldn't go to the police. And in this instance, she had another husband. She had got married and hadn't actually got around to getting divorced before she got married again. So yeah, that was why that sort of came up with the whole. She's working on a TV show of her stories, but people get killed in a gruesome way, even though it's a cozy mystery.
Have you since then ever sort of started writing a murder scene and then gone, oh, I hope that wouldn't get recreated?
Do you know what hasn't occurred to me since I finished My Other Husband? It's like, oh, that's over. I didn't think about, oh yeah, someone's going to try and stitch me up by. Can you imagine if someone tries to stitch me up? God, I hope not.
Do you think after the short story of Beach at 512 we'll hear more from Sims? I feel like she's got more to tell us.
I don't know, because when I write a book, and I'm not joking when I say when I finish a book, I actually think that's it. That's that character done, and that story done. And then, like I say, I came back to the Ice Cream Girls 10 years later. And after that, I was like, I am never doing this again. It's so hard. And then I wrote a couple more books, and then I came to Every Smiley Fake, and I finished that book and it was done. So it was like, okay, we're finished. And then I had the idea, I already had the idea almost for the next book. And I thought, well, what I need is a bit of a Kez character. So I was like, well, you know what? She's here. Bring her back. So, which is what I did. And then the book I've just finished, it was like, well, I quite like writing about Kez. So I might do that again, actually. Put her into another mystery. So all of that is to say, Sims might return. At the moment, I have no plans for her to return, but she might one day.
So you're obviously sort of not that tempted to go down a series route in the future?
Well, it feels like I've very much started it by accident. I've become a series writer by accident, as they say, because the next book idea I had for the next book I'm going to write, it kind of turned out to another Kez story, and I was like, oh, okay, maybe I can't write anything else now. Maybe I've got to see where Kez's journey takes her before I finish. So I've kind of become a series writer by accident. I didn't mean to be. I think it was nice actually stepping out and writing Sims like as an amuse-bouche, as it were. But so yeah, we've got another book. I've got another book in me with Kez, and then I might do something else completely.
What is your next book about? You've been asked.
Well, not My Other Husband, Give Him to Me, which is a sequel to Every Smiley Fake, and that's out in paperback in August, is the second in the Kez Lanyon series, and it's about a girl called Robin, who saw her abusive father kill her mother when she was 12. But because her dad was very connected, he didn't actually go to prison. He went to witness protection, and she was put into care. So now it's like 10, 12 years later, and she's like, I want a family reunion. So she's tried to go through all the proper channels, but no one will speak to her. So she decides to start killing everybody who's involved in her dad's case who took him to witness protection. And on their bodies, she leaves a note saying, give him to me. And so Kez is kind of brought in to profile her and find out where she is and where she's going to strike next before she kills any more people. but that leads to her Kez being in danger. And so that's that book. That's what's coming out in August in paperback. And then next year, in February, the third Kez Lanyon book is there's a character in Every Smiley Fake, and she has a very minor role in Give Him to Me. She Kez used to work with her. Kez trained with her to become a profiler when they worked for the government. So she turns up in the middle of the night and basically says that Kez owes her, and she has to help her because at her daughter's boarding school, there's been a murder and one of the pupils has disappeared. And so Kez has to go undercover in this boarding school to try and find out what has happened and who actually killed the school psychologist and what's happened to this missing girl. And it's completely out there, but I had so much fun writing it. I think a lot of people are going to have fun reading it. My editor and the copy editor, they both absolutely enjoyed themselves reading it. So,
well, that's good.
Yeah.
Did you have to go in a world of boarding schools to write that?
Well, I did sort of do a lot of reading, and I talked to quite a few girls who'd gone to boarding schools. Because obviously, around in Brighton, we've got one of the most famous boarding schools of all time, Rodine, which is up the road. And that's where they based St. Trillian's. Remember St. Trillian's? They based St. Trillian's on Rodine. So I talked to a few students from there and from other boarding schools around the country. And some of the things they said, I mean, I put them in the book, and a couple of people said to me, I think you've gone a bit far here. And I was like, no, I've toned down the things that they told me happened in those places. I mean, I'm not going to pretend that they didn't love, the girls loved their schools, but some of the things that happened and that were kept quiet and that the teachers didn't, that the teachers got away with and other people got away with, and the things that they used to get up to, was like really eye-opening, really. So yeah, it's been quite fun actually reading about it and talking to people and researching it and then writing it, creating the characters.
Yeah, I can imagine. I mean, schools in general are probably wilder than most people think.
Yeah.
Sarah said she went to a boarding school.
Did she? Oh, Sarah, how did I not know this? I could have talked to you for the thing, for my book, all the secret societies and the sneaking out at night.
Yeah, well, Sarah's like me, I think, and had a military family.
Oh, right.
But they stayed in. My parents came out when I was little, so I never went to boarding school. But
Okay.
if you're a military kid, you often do for high school.
Yeah, because it's easier than dragging you around to different postings. Wow. Oh,
So I'm guessing that's why she went to boarding school.
Well, when she reads it, she can see if I got it right or not.
Yeah. That'll be interesting. I only know this because we were both from the same weirdly obscure military hospital.
Really?
Yeah. Me and
Wow.
Sarah.
That's really spooky. There's so much spookiness. You see, the thing is, if I wrote that in a book, people would just go, that would never happen. People just don't believe that things like that happen, but they happen all the time, don't they?
They do, and I think that's an interesting thing, isn't it? I think people in general are fascinating. I think that's one of the reasons why I like your book so much, because they're about people and why people like go down different paths or end up in weird situations and things like that. And people do all the time. If you work with people on a daily basis, you'll know that. You know that like crazy things come up and different things happen and, you know, things you'd never imagine, weird coincidences. You know what I mean? And that's, I think, all the things you explore in your novels.
Yeah, things that you sort of, and people go, well, that would never happen. It's like it happens all the time. You just don't know that it's happened that all the time.
Exactly. Sarah wanted to know if you're going to any book festivals in the north.
Not in the coming months, unfortunately. No, I'm not going to Harrogate this year. This year I'm staying in Brighton for Harrogate. Last 2 times I went to Harrogate. Last year I twisted my ankle on on the way up on the car park on the way up to the big tent, and had to get a taxi home, which was a lot of money, and because I couldn't walk. And the year before that I got COVID. So me and Harrogate are on a bit of a break this year.
That seems fair.
We were on a break. We are on a break. Yes. I'm doing something actually in Brighton. So if you fancy coming to Brighton for your holidays, I am doing a couple of things in Brighton. So yeah.
Oh, what are you doing in Brighton? Because we'll have members who are there.
Yes, on the 19th of July, I'm interviewing a woman called Attica Locke, who's an American writer. She's a brilliant writer, so I'm interviewing her, and I'm doing something else. I can't remember what. And I think on the and in October the 4th, I'm doing something in Shoreham as well, which is just up the road from Brighton, so you can come to that.
Is that part of the word? Is it Showroom Word Fest?
I think it is part of Shoreham Word Fest. Yeah, it's something slightly different where we're all going to be at our little tables with our books, and people are going to come around and talk to us.
Oh, that's cool. Like a speed dating type of thing.
I think so. I mean, they explained it to me a long time ago, so they might have changed their minds about that. But I'm doing it on the 4th of October, so there you go.
I like the idea. Like a speed dating an author, just like every so often talk to the next one and see what you think of.
It'd be fun, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that sounds really cool. What a clever idea. I just end up with too many books though. Because every time I feel like you're obligated if you go to someone's book event to buy a book. Because it's polite, right?
Yeah, well, you are kind of, but you know, we do understand if you don't. It's nice. Sometimes it's just nice to go and talk to people and save up, because that's the thing. We're all in this cost of lives, so you know, cost of living crisis. So we do have to save up for your books. So I've started my little pre-order jar. So I've got a jar now which I put money into every week. So so when it comes to the time that a book I want is out, I've got the money there. I've saved up for it.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah, I think if I went to a speed dating thing, I'd just buy a book off every author. I like them.
And we love you for it.
Like I would love you without a book.
So maybe you should start saving up now. So start putting stuff into a jar. It's your pre-order jar. So when next time you go to an event, you go like, ha ha, I've got the money.
Well, we are in the middle of up here. There is Bradford Lit Fest running.
Oh yes.
Currently, which is costing me money as we speak, because I went last weekend and I'm going back this weekend. So I'm like, yeah, my pre-order jar is already empty.
Every author appreciates it.
They had quite a few of your books actually at the festival hub, which was quite
nice. Oh, that's nice.
Because then I went for an admission. I was like, "Oh, is she coming to Bradford?"
Gosh, I'm scared. I'm slightly scared. I'm thinking, was I meant to be in Bradford this weekend?
No, you were all right. You weren't in the program. I got really excited. I was like,
oh gosh. Because you know I haven't turned up for stuff before, and I'm like, oh, I've forgotten that. I'd forgotten I'd meant to do that. Oh, phew. At least I wasn't meant to be in Bradford this weekend or last weekend.
Is there anything I meant to ask you this earlier, is there anything in the realm of psychology that you've learned about, like an interesting condition or reason for people doing the thing that they do that you haven't written into a book yet that you'd like to explore?
that I haven't written to a book yet.
Because I think you've got quite a range of things going on in the books already. But I'm sure
Yeah,
there's something niche that you've not explored yet.
I'm sure there will be something niche that I haven't that will come up. I know in My Other Husband I did limerence, which was a really fascinating thing for me, which is the obsessive love, and it's not just loving someone too much or being a stalker. It's actually physically feeling ill if you can't be with that person. And I didn't actually realize that it can get to that degree, you know, of real obsession with somebody. It's almost like a physical ache, a physical pain. And the only way for someone to stop someone who is limerent towards them is to completely shut them off. And as we find out in the book, it's very hard for most human beings to not to be nasty to people. But if there's even the glimmer of hope, they obsess upon the idea that they could be with this person, and it very rarely goes away. It's kind of a lifelong condition, which was really fascinating to me. I know in Every Smiley Fake, I kind of dealt with psychopaths and psychopaths and sociopaths, and I learned a lot about that from Leslie McAvoy, who is a Yorkshire writer. She writes the Yorkshire Murders. They're a great series of books, and she's a therapist as well. She's a therapist and a profiler, so I talked to her a lot for the first book of Every Smiley Fake. So I don't know. I'm sure I'm going to find out something. There's something will come up, and then you'll be like, "Ah, she found it. She found that little weird psychological thing that she's sort of written about next." In The Quiet Girls, there is a couple of things, which I'm not going to spoil it for you. There are a couple of things that I came across that I was really sort of taken aback by, and even in Beach Up 512, there was a couple of things that I was taken aback by how strongly people can experience these things.
That's a really good answer. I went so many places while you were telling me some of those facts. I was wondering if, like, the relationship between Kathy and Heathcliff might have been a bit of limerence.
I think it was, but it was a mutual one. That was the thing. But they didn't. The thing with Kathy and Heathcliff was there was always something that came between them, and a lot of it was Kathy's ambition, because she was always almost like groomed for better things. And she couldn't have that with Heathcliff, even though she loved him. But she was kind of obsessed with him, whereas he was obsessed with her. But then he was let down by her, like he'd been let down by everybody. So they had all these different factors that came in. So I do wonder if they didn't have that, if they would have had a normal relationship, or if they would have split up after a couple of months, because, you know, it's quite boring. They didn't have, if they didn't have people trying to keep them apart, or societal pressures sort of keeping them apart or stopping them from being together. So I don't know. I do wonder. It was written, when I first read it, I thought it was this grand love. And then every decade that I've read it, I've sort of changed my feelings towards them. And I'm currently in gosh, that's a novel full of really terrible people. Love it, but they're all terrible. And they all got these really sinister sides to them that makes them almost unlovable, if that makes sense. They're kind of, none of them were the main Heathcliff and Kathy era. none of them are beyond using somebody to get what they want, and I found that really sort of disturbing.
Yeah, it's still one of my favorite novels of all time.
Oh, absolutely! It's a well written novel, especially because you could read it so many different ways, and you read it and you go, "Oh, wow! Look, there's that in there," and there's this feeling that you didn't notice before. Oh, I think it's a great book. I don't like anybody in it though, but I love it. I love the book.
That's an interesting thing. I'm going to come back to that. But the other thing that I was thinking when you were talking about your things that you've gone down is, do you ever feel a little bit proud that you kind of taught people a little bit of psychology while you're writing your books?
Oh, do you know, I never thought about that, because I don't actually write to teach people things. I kind of write to illuminate a subject. And I suppose people do learn on the way. I don't intentionally do that. I just find it interesting to read about things and to learn about things and to put them in my books. Maybe I should think more about the fact that I'm teaching people stuff. I mean, I remember when I wrote The Ice Cream Girls, I got a lot of emails and messages from people saying, this is the first time I've seen abuse dealt with in this way. Because traditionally, abuse was always about violence, physical violence. It wasn't about emotional or mental violence. And when I started researching it, I honestly thought it was just about men hitting women. And I didn't realize there was so much more involved. And it starts so much further back before the first slap. It's all about control and isolation and emotionally unbalancing people. And I think a lot of people, when they read it, was really surprised, like I was when I was researching it, that this is what abuse is actually about. This is how it looks. So it doesn't look like, somebody who slaps around somebody. It could be anybody from any different types of backgrounds who have this on the facade, is they're really well put together, and they've got lots of money, and they live in a really fabulous area. And up until that point, up until I did the research, it was always a certain type of person who was in these relationships. It was always this stereotype that was perpetuated. And so people who didn't fit that stereotype often thought that they were fine. So I had a lot of emails from people saying, it wasn't until I read your book and I realized I was in an abusive relationship and that I wasn't going crazy. I wasn't wrong. It was abuse. It was a bad situation. It wasn't me. It was him. And I had so many emails about that. So I think I don't think I'm teaching people. I'm just shining a light on people and saying, look at it from this point of view, rather than the point of view that's always been peddled.
But sometimes that can be important in its own way, can't it? Sort of reflecting different sort of ways of seeing things.
And different experiences that you often don't hear about or hear from, or realize that you're living in an abusive relationship, you're living in a situation that's really bad for your mental health. You can't realize it. And that's what's so powerful about fiction. And not just talking about my books, I'm talking about in general. Fiction is a very good way of dealing with a subject that's difficult, and sort of like making people kind of look at something from a different point of view. Whereas if they read an article, or if they read a textbook, they probably wouldn't engage with it as much. So that's why I think reading, and particularly reading fiction with stuff that's sometimes out of your experience, is really important. It gives you a really important insight into how other people function and how other people live, and which is really important. I think it's really it's really sad when things like what's happened in America recently with parents can choose what their kids are can choose to opt out of their kids learning about LGBTQ people, and I just think, well, you're going to encounter them in your life. It's you might not agree with things. I mean, not that you can disagree with the way people are. People are who they are. But when you start sort of like banning people from having knowledge even of other people and how they live their lives, it makes a really sterile, cold, unfeeling society. You know, we have empathy through reading about other people's experiences, and the more authentic, the closer they are to the people who actually live those experiences, the better, I think.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think the other thing is it's also proves that fiction doesn't just have to be people that we like as well, or characters that we're going to bond with. You can have a book of people that you don't like.
Absolutely.
They're still telling you something
Mm.
interesting and different.
And also they're showing you that people are complex. I mean, we have a real ability to just see things in two ways, either good or bad. So someone's either good or they're bad. And that is not how humans are. Humans are so complex. You know, we can be good in one moment and we can be bad in another moment, and we can be a bit in the middle at other moments. We could be innocuous sometimes. We could be the worst people sometimes. And because we're so sort of instilled in our minds, seem to be this way of seeing it, it's either this or it's that, we end up in a real muddle, because, you know, there are people who do shocking things, but because one time they helped a cat cross the road, suddenly they're not so bad. We suddenly think, we don't think, well, you know, they're a bad person, but they do good things sometimes. We know we started kind of shift our looking at them, how we look at them, and we suddenly see them as good. And it's like, they're objectively bad. Just because they did one good thing doesn't mean that they're good people. They're good people suddenly. And so I think having flawed characters, that's why I love writing my main characters, because they're always flawed. They've always got this flaw that makes people want to shake them, and people want to go, can you just stop doing what you're doing, or you're going to ruin your life if you're not careful. Because that's what we all like. We are all human. We are, you know, apart from me, because I'm perfect all the time. But but I absolutely believe that we need to sort of like see that people are complex, and people could be more than one thing at a time. And that will help us a lot, I think, get ourselves out of this mess, because we're in such a mess at the moment, and then we're spending a lot of time focusing on, oh, this person did one good thing, and so they're fine, and so we're kind of like heading towards doom, I think, because we can't actually think, well, actually, you know what, they could do nice things, but that still doesn't negate all the millions of terrible things they've done. So I think in fiction, when you have a character who's complex, who is horrible, but you can understand why they're doing the things they do, it's always, I always find that heartening. I think it's more realistic to me.
Donna's asked you if you think all characters in books should have grey areas, good or bad.
No, because that would just get really boring if everybody. I mean, most humans do have grey areas and do have sort of like terrible sides to them. But I think there should be just a few of them, because in the world of a book, it just gets a bit unwieldy if you can't trust anyone. I mean, I never trust anyone anyway. Whenever I'm watching something, I'm like, I don't trust him. I don't trust him. No, I'm not getting fooled. He's gonna be a wrong un. She's gonna be a wrong un. But I think in the world of a book, I think you need a few, And you obviously need the person who's going to sort of like whip around and be the evil person, be the doer you weren't looking for. But it's more interesting if there are more than one person with a morally grey area. But no, I don't think every character should be. It'd be really boring because you'd have to spend so much time trying to work out what their fatal flaw is. And sometimes it's just that they like a bit too much oat yogurt.
Sarah has said not book related, but do you have a favourite TV show?
Well, actually, I've been watching quite a few recently. The one that I really am enjoying, but I don't know if I'm going to finish the end of the third series because I accidentally saw some spoilers online. I was like, oh, that doesn't sound good. I'm really enjoying Will Trent at the moment, and it's very different from the books. Really very different from the books, but I really like all the characters in Will Trent, and that's a story that has got a lot of morally questionable characters. So I like that. I'm trying to think what I've been watching. What was I watching today? I started watching Having Resisted for a long time, and Just Like That. I'm still not sure how I feel about it. I'm onto the second series, but I'm still not sure about how I feel about it. I enjoyed it actually, I think, because I used to watch Sex and the City way back in the day. Religiously, me and my friends used to watch it, and we'd be talking about it the next day. And now we've got And Just Like That, which I quite like. What else? I quite like The Equalizer as well. I watched the original Equalizer from the 80s with Edward Woodward, and now it's Queen Latifah. They could not be more different, but they could not be more the same as well. It's really quite spooky how the stories are very different, but again, a really flawed character back then when it was in the 80s, and now in the 2020s, both very flawed characters, and both trying to make up for their past by doing good. So yeah, those are the things I've been watching recently.
And what have you read recently and really enjoyed?
Well, I'm still reading Kia Abdullah's last book, What Happens in the Dark. And I read the first Karen Slaughter book, Triptych or something. I can't remember. I can't spell the name, but that was good. I read one by Kelechi Okafor, which is Awakened. And these are people I've had on my podcast, so I've been reading their books to go on the podcast. So yeah, those ones I've read recently.
I do a lot of that, reading things for people coming on to interviews.
Well, you have to know what you're doing, don't you? You have to know what you're talking about.
The trick to reduce your TBR pile, if you want a top tip, is to book someone into your podcast or onto the interview.
Yeah, suddenly you've got to read it.
It really helped me with my Dorothy Koomson backlog.
Well, thank you. I should book it in to speak to you more often.
Well, yeah, I need more books. So I've only got the sequel to the Ice Cream Girls left to go.
Oh, cool.
So that'll be me tripping back to the book stop next.
Oh, yeah. Yes. I love buying books, I have to say. So I'm not going to tell you not to do that.
I think, as we've discovered recently, there is a lot of joy in buying books.
Yes.
Have you had any more? So there was an adaptation of Ice Cream Girls. Have you had any more TV interest in your books?
I had a couple of things optioned, but being optioned and being made of two very different things. So not at the moment, no. Gosh, I'm so hot. Sorry.
I know it's really warm still, isn't it? It's not as bad as yesterday though.
Oh, last night I was like that. And I go, I can't move. When I was in Australia, I remember one New Year's Day. I went out on New Year's Eve and I came home on New Year's Day, and it was so hot. It got up to 40 degrees. And I remember just sitting on my sofa going, I can't move. And it felt like that yesterday in this house in this old England. I was just like, I can't move. I'm so hot. It wasn't even 40, but it was absolutely 40 degrees, 40 or 42 degrees it got to. I was so hot. I just sat on my sofa and I didn't move the whole time. I couldn't eat, couldn't drink anything. It was just like, oh, that was me last night in bed going, I can't move. It's so hot.
I think, yeah, we've been in 40-degree heat when we lived in Turkey, and it's not pleasant.
No. And my poor little dogs, they've got these like shaggy coats. I'm like, oh, poor girls. You must be so hot. I think I might put them in the shower this tonight and spray them down with cold water. They might not like that, actually.
Yeah, they might not like that. You can get cooling mats and things for them, though.
Yeah, I think I might actually have to. I might have to get one. I saw them up at the shop the other day, and I thought, oh, we won't ever need that, but I think I might need that. They go and lie underneath the cupboards in the tiled kitchen because I think it's really cool underneath there. Poor girls.
Fair enough. We've got a few minutes left, so remind everyone, if they haven't been book shopping already,
yes,
what they can go away and buy.
They can go away and, well, today they can get their hands on Beach Hut 512, which is a short book. It's designed to be read in 1 or 2 sittings, and so that comes out today in ebook and audiobook, and then the 14th, I think it is, of August, middle of August, Give Him to Me, which is a sequel to Every Smile You Fake, is out on sale in paperback. So if you get your little book jar and start saving now, you'll have the money then. So you can have £2 for Beach Hut 512, and then you've got time to save up again to buy Give Him to Me in August.
Which everyone, I'm sure, will. And then all that's left for me to say is thanks so much for joining us.
Well, thank you. It's been lovely talking to you. I really hope you've enjoyed yourself as well.
Yeah.
Yes. And you with your Leeds connection and your scientist husband. It's amazing.
Yeah, we've got a lot in common.
I know. But it's been lovely talking to you. Thank you so much.
No problem. It's been a joy.